Hey folks, this is Bailey with Dank Wargaming.
Hey, this is Steve, the Team Tip Warboy.
And welcome to The Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. So, today on the podcast, Heath and I are back. We're going to have a special guest here, hopefully in a little bit. We'll show you, introduce them when they get here. We are going to look at some new releases because there was a balanced data slate that had a little update for us with some of the new detachments. We've got 9 lists in the Metawatch that we're going to go over because there's some interesting things going on in there. Like I said, we'll have a guest in after that, and we'll have the hobby challenge to follow, followed by the community comments. So, Heath, going to new releases. Free release, right? It's not often we get free releases, right? So we got a free release here on the Orbital Assault Force, the Battle Tactics Stratagem Auto Sense Coordination. It says in the fighting or shooting phase, you select one adapted Star-T's unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. You pick either lethal hits or sustained hits ability, and until the end of the phase, weapons equipped by this model or by models in this unit have this ability in a turn in which they disembark from a drop pod, or while targeting an enemy unit within 12 inches. And it's that or while targeting an enemy unit within 12 inches that I believe got added. You can go back and look from the podcast from last month and get like really nitty gritty into it, but I'm pretty sure that's the bit because I remember when we talked about it.
I seem to recall that. Yeah, we're like,
just a drop pod?
Just a drop pod? I don't know about this, man, but okay. All right. I haven't played it or seen anyone that has played or heard anything about it, but definitely makes the stratagem a lot more flexible. Instead of just like, hey, the one turn when you get out of a drop pod, then yeah, cool. All right, have fun with that.
So we'll take that. All right, so now we're gonna go take a look at the Metawatch. I'm gonna pop this up here so people can see kind of some of the overall images that we're looking at. So we had 9 lists this month. The big thing here for me to look at, right in green, we have a bunch of lists that have Azrael, Intercessors, a Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, the Lion, and then Scout Squads make a massive return. The big thing here, Heath, I want to point out is that even though they are fairly prevalent, they are now in just over half the lists, but only 5 of the 9 lists had Deathwing Knights in them, and it was one only had 1 squad, most had 2 squads. Some other things that kind of fell in that same pot were Inner Circle Companions. Landspeeder Vengeances are showing up, especially in 2s and 3s. And then some other things that are kind of outliers that I thought were interesting is you have Vindicator showed up twice. Repulsor Executioners, in one case, 2 Repulsor Executioners showed up twice. Outriders in 3 packs and 6 packs in a single pack.
Very diverse is what you're getting out of this. Yeah.
Yep. Some Jump Pack Intercessors in 4 out of 9 lists, and in most cases, or in 2 cases, double. No real Vanguard bets to write home about, though, interestingly enough.
Yeah, that's
weird.
And
then I think something else, the Judiciar. 2 of the lists that had Inner Circle Companions also had Judiciar.
So, okay.
Those are sort of like
very diverse. Like looking at the list, it kind of looks like there's been a resurgence in Company of Hunters and a couple of other things. And I wonder if that's a reaction to specific meta pressure, but overall, in general, I think that just a comment, one of the things that we've been seeing in the meta broader is the resurgence of Necrons, that Necron Monster Mash Pantheon of Woe list that we talked about a little bit last, that our friend Joe ran at War on the Shore, has taken the world by storm. It is so good. So if you're not showing up thinking that you're gonna like need to have the ability to kill multiple Catan, you're in a rough spot. So Dark Angels can do that. I don't know if the regular, Wrath of the Rock tech is what will do it, but and after my experience with Sternguard at War on the Shore, I don't know if Sternguard are going to do it either. But anyway, so that's one of the things that we've seen out here, at least, is that those things are really shaping and changing the meta. So that might have something to do with why we've seen a little less Deathwing Knights and more just like speed jail Ravenwing stuff. Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's get into
So,
it.
kind of the deep dive it here. Look at some individual lists and some interesting detachments that have also, like the Necrons, come back from a steel grave. We got Russell here. He's of Big Marge's Brigadiers. He brought Gladius Task Force to fourth place finish at the 2026 Swordwind Winter Grand Tournament. It's 5 round, 45 players. He had Lion Dad, he had Azrael, he had Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, he had Intercessor Squad, he had Jump Pack Intercessors, 3 Blade Guard, 1 Deathwing Knights, 2 3-man Eradicator Squads, 6-man Inner Circle Companions, 3 Landspeeder Vengeances, a Scout Squad, and a Vindicator. So we got some big boom daka in this list, but no Tech Marines, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I can
Oring
see the use. I
cursors.
can see the use for a Tech Marine, but that's 55 points. I don't know where he'd cut the 55 points because he needs the JPIs. He wants the Blade Guard Vets as another utility piece. Triple Vengeance. So this has got a lot I'm thinking you're going to see a lot of stuff that needs 3 damage to kill it, or your -1 damage takes it to 2. So, and as a Gladius, it's very, very flexible. It's got a lot going for it. The 6 Inner Circle Companions, Azrael obviously goes with the Inner Circle Companions. And that's your kind of your 2 big melee bricks that go along with the Lion. And that 3 Vengeances, I think that's enough that you will get some sort of average from the variance on their shooting. But having all your main shooting be a D6 or a something number of shots is kind of hurts a little bit, in my opinion. But Vindicator is definitely tough. So, and Vengeances, I think point that Gerard made in his write-up on this was that Vengeances are OC3, which is something that a lot of people don't realize. And so 2 of them,
that's pretty good,
can sit on, touch an objective and outmuscle your average scout squad or 5-man 1 OC unit, right? And that's pretty good. That's nice. So
I like that. Yeah, that is definitely interesting to think about. Or if all 3 of them are just kind of turtled around one, that's 9 OC. That's quite a bit.
And they're big. They have a huge footprint, so you can have a hard time physically getting onto the objective if the 3 of them are just wagons circled on it. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, so next is Jordan. He was at the Double Dutch Rudder. He's of Double Dutch Rudder. He's went 4-1. He took 5th place out of 41 players. At the Wishing, it was LVO 40K GT held in Sandy, Utah, with a Company of Hunters list. So he's got Speedy Dangles. He's got Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, 3 Ravenwing Command Squads. Each one has one of the nice enhancements, right? He's got Recon Hunter, Mastercrafted Weapon, and Master of Maneuver. And that one is the Warlord. He's got 3x3 of Outriders, the return of the Ballistus Dreadnought, 2 of them. So we've got the double Ballistus Dreadnought. We've got 2 Centurion Devastator squads, 1 Invader ATV, 2 Scout squads, 2 Hammer Strikes, and a Vindicator.
So Company of Hunters, everything can advance and shoot. That really helps with the dev sense. And all the bikes can advance and charge. So double Hammer Strike, it's a strip cover, right? And the Hammer Strikes have pretty healthy shooting in and of themselves. They have a 3-shot Melta weapon. So yeah, I can see this, right? No Black Knights though. So the command squads with the Outriders. So the goal here is to get those, master the Ravenwing champions up to damage 3, and their Dark Angel or the Black Knight combo weapons on the rest of that squad also up to damage 2. So maybe you get lucky with some dev wounds. Yeah, okay. So this is a surprisingly shooty list, right? And is going to be in your face. And that little Invader ATV, you can just sticky an objective, and then you pick it up into reserve, and you just leave it there, and it'll come in whatever you need it to come in to do something. That's what I would do with it.
All right, so that's what we got on that first Company of Hero Hunters list. So we're going to look over at the Winchester 40K GT. This was 5-round 39 players in Winchester, England. The South London Legion's Connor took 6th place with the Stormlance list. So we've got the list called the Yeet.
The Yeet.
I think I know what this list is going to do. I like it. He's got Lion Dad. He's got Azrael. Apothecary with fainting withdrawal, which this is I thought was interesting. Judiciar, Combi Lieutenant, Intercessor Squad, 2 Jump Pack Intercessor Squads, 2 Deathwing Knight Squads, Inner Circle Companions, Outriders, 2 Scout Squads, and then the fatty 10-man Stern Guard Squad.
Okay, so interesting thing to talk about here. Obviously, the Judiciar should go with the ICCs, but so the apothecary. What does feigning withdrawal do? That's the fallback. Is that a fallback and shoot thing? I don't remember.
It might be, I think, because you can fall back and charge, advance, fall back and charge in Stormlance, right? That's the main bit.
Yeah,
but yeah. I think that is the thing that lets you fall back and shoot, which is right. Always, you're like looking at this list, going, "Why would I ever do that?" I'm playing.
Well, because of Azrael, if Azrael and 10 Blade Guard veterans are stuck in combat, you want to fall back and shoot with them, which is
and that's what
charge, right?
So, yeah, well, it's just I've never really put a shooting unit in there outside of Hellblasters. I think when the book first came out, and that was like the one place I wanted to put Feigning Withdrawal, because right, you're going to be advancing, shooting, charging, just to try and spam all those like little plink damage or whatever, right?
So and everyone's so you can do the you have that stratagem that gives them assault, and if they already have assaulting, they get sustained, right?
Yep.
Okay, which is kind of irrelevant. I guess it would let Azrael's gun shoot, but so yeah, you can advance, shoot because they're Stern Guard because they have assault, charge, and then fall back, shoot, charge with Stern Guard. That's actually pretty damn good, right? And Apothecary, that list gets him a little more durability. So
yeah,
okay,
on top
interesting.
Of that 4-pin bolt.
On top of the 4-pin bolt. And 10 Stern Guard hopefully won't break your heart like 5 Stern Guard do.
That's a lot more shots.
It's a lot of shooting. So, okay. Well, yeah, we know how Stern Guard or Stormlance works. So let's keep on rolling.
All right. So we're going to the Swordwind Winter GT again. Bristol, we've got Patrick's 4-1 list. That the Bristol's Crusaders. Patrick's win 4-1. He got 7th out of 45 players with the Wrath of the Rock list. He has his IITT teams list here. It's a name. We have Lion Dad. We have Azrael. We have the Judiciar. We have Lieutenant with Combi Weapon. We have the Intercessor Squad. We have 2 Deathwing Knights. Fatty Squad of Hellblasters. Full Squad of Inner Circle Companions. 2 Landspeeder Vengeances. Scout Squad. And a return of the Calidus Assassin.
So the innovation here is the Hellblasters, right? So Judy with Ancient Weapons, the ICCs, and Azrael with the big Hellblaster unit. We haven't seen that in a minute, right? And obviously it's really good, right? But it's just it's always been now this is a 300 and something point shooting unit, which is generally going to get clapped back real hard. But maybe with all that melee pressure forward, right? You can keep them safe long enough to get in to actually have them do some stuff, right? Do some shooting. So,
it still has Spite on Death, right? They still have Honor the Chapter when Hellblasters die for like
shoot on
something
death,
else other than themselves kills them, right? So like you could have they jump out, they kill something. Hopefully, right, something else kills enough of them in one go that you roll enough 4-ups that you then.
Well, no, it's 3-ups. They shoot back on 3-ups.
3-ups.
Honor the Chapter triggers on 3s. Yeah. So, okay.
I can see that there. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I like the big unit of. I do like the big unit of Hellblasters. You just got to be real careful with it, not to expose it too early. Otherwise, it'll get blacked. So.
Yep.
And Judy with Ancient Weapons is really dangerous. So that puts him up to like strength 9, I think. AP 3, damage 3 with devastating wounds and precision. So,
well, and it gives you 2 units with fight first, right? Because you have the Lion and them. So you're interrupting.
So I'm generally a little like I don't think you need 2 units with fight first, because you're really only going to get the benefit of fights first on one of the units, right? Because they're going to charge, you're going to fight first, and then they get to activate another thing, and you get to fight first. Then you get to go again, right? So if they don't, if they hit you with 2 hard melee units, then one of their guys is going to get to go first, right? Before, so that's the concern. So not saying like if you're really good at melee positioning and counter threading and like I'm the heroic here, or I'm going to do the other thing here. If they make the mistake of putting something into the lion that is not really probably capable of actually hurting the lion deeply, right? So you go with the ICCs first and let them swing on the lion, and so there's a use case for it. I just don't think it's the really super high end one. But that's just my opinion. This guy went 4-1, so good for him.
All right, folks. Our next list is yet another Company of Hunters list called the Company of.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Maybe I'm about to get redacted by YouTube. I don't know. So this list went 4-1. It was run by Ben at the Vault Hammer. Vault Hammer presents Face 40K GT held in Glashells, Scotland, something like that.
I don't know how to say that. Yeah, best of
put
luck.
enough rolling R's or swallow the G hard enough.
Not trying
Scottish,
it.
But
not doing it. Not doing it. Yeah.
So he got third place out of 50 players. So that's pretty good.
That's good.
So let's see what Ben's got. Right. Company of. He's got it. See, that explains why the name's weird, because it's written by Scott. That makes everything makes sense now. So we got Azrael. You'll like this part. 2 chaplains on bike, mounted recon, mounted strategist, command squad, master of maneuver, and Samael. So we got 4 bike officers in this list. We've got an intercessor squad, and then we have 4 6-man outrider squads. Again,
that's so many outriders.
If you didn't know this list was written by a crazy Scotsman,
good Lord,
you now know that this was written by Scotsmen. And then 2 3-man squads, a 6-man Black Knight squad, a Dark Shroud, 2 scout squads, and a Thunderstrike.
Okay, so I just want to recap.
Absolute madness.
This has 6 squads of outriders, 4 of which are full size.
Yeah,
there are 30 outriders in this list.
Yeah.
Right. So Chaplain, and Sam, and he can flip around for who goes where, and the Ravenwing Command Squad. So one of those big units is not going to get a leader, right? Asriel is going to go with the intercessors. This is interesting. I'm curious now. Outriders with a chaplain, right? +1 to wound, right? So your strength 5 with multi damage +1 to wound on the charge, right? And then they can do with the chaplains Litany of Hate, I think it is, or no, Catechism of Fire. They'll be doing devastating wounds with their twin-linked bolt rifles.
Yeah,
that doesn't suck. It really doesn't.
No. Well, and then is one of these enhancements master mounted strategist, that is reroll charges.
One's recon hunters. One of them is the 9-inch scout, and one of them's the go in reserve and come in a turn early when it is worded so that you can rapid ingress on turn 1 as well.
Gotcha.
So it's not like Deathwing Assault. It's a better version of it. It's like it's just like the Stormlights one. So
these guys all already have fallback shoot. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure it wasn't fallback.
And they can fallback shoot and charge. Okay. So,
well, and if you have automatic rerolled charges and advanced rolls, that means you can strategic reserve one of these fat squads to make room, and then make that charge more guaranteed out of strategic reserve if you wanted to. Because at some point you're going to run out of space. Like something's getting put in strategic reserves with this list. Because these are some fat bodies everywhere.
Yeah. So definitely one of the big squads is going to get in reserve, right? And probably the one with it's going to be the one with recon or with master maneuver. So, all right.
Okay.
Cool.
I like that. All right, so we're going to go to this next list. I'm not going to say the name of the team because I will get
because you will get YouTube. You will get YouTube. Yeah.
So Liam, he went 5-1. He took 9th place out of 212 players, so that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And Wrath of the Rock, his list is called Beachhead. Let's see, we've got Lion Dad, Azrael. Here we go. We've got Librarian and Terminator armor with Deathwing Assault. There he is.
Never seen it. Love it. Down to get down. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So we got Lieutenant with combi weapon with tempered in battle. We've got 2 Deathwing Knight squads, the Desolation squad, Infiltrator Squad, Inner Circle Companions, 2 Land Speeder Vengeances, a Dark Shroud, and a Scout Squad.
Okay, so the Libby with Terminator armor gets Deathwing Assault. Right, so he can drop in on turn 1 to get a mid-board objective. You could teleport the Lion over there to hang out with him, right? Or with the Combi Lieutenant, right? So there's a lot of interesting, opportunity to pivot your axis with this list. And Librarians and Terminator armor, the thing they do is they give you sustained hits.
Yep.
And Terminator, definitely Knights throw enough dice that sustained hits, you're going to pick up a couple of extras. Now, I don't know if there's another feature of the Terminator, like the shooting or something that he likes out of this. I would generally go with a chaplain for this because I think that the +1 to wound is going to be more valuable. And they're about the same points. But hey, he did what he did. I'm really curious to hear his logic for why taking a Terminator librarian vice one of their Terminator characters. I've seen this work out really well with an Ancient for the OC as well. So,
yeah,
and he's got them Desis. He's got the Desi squads. So they're making a comeback. Lots of interesting stuff. And we have not seen a 3-man Deathwing. Sorry, a 5x3 Deathwing Knights yet, have we?
No.
Most is 2.
No.
Yeah. Most is 2.
Yep. All right. Going to the next list. We have Alex, whose last name is long in Greek, so will be redacted. He's mostly because he's part of Team Xenos Petting Zoo. It's involved Xenos, so that's Heresy.
The XPZ boys. It's a good team. They're nice guys.
Yeah. He's got Gladius List they took to the Dice Hammer Open GT in Irvine, California. Went 4-1, 4th out of 75 players. So another high finish and a high count player pool. So he's got Gladius Dark Angels as his list name. We've got Lion Dad. We've got Azrael. We've got, this is what I thought was cool, double Lieutenant with combi weapon. One has Artificer armor. But double combi Lieutenant I thought was cool. Assault Intercessor, or regular Intercessors, 2 Jump Pack Assault Intercessors, Inner Circle Companions, 3 Land Speeder Vengeances, Dark Shroud, double Repulsor Executioner, which I also thought was cool.
That is interesting, isn't it? Wow. Double Repex.
Yeah.
Huh.
And that's a lot of shots. I played one at the event that I have a video that I will be making to accompany this. So I just did the recording. It's 50 minutes of me just talking about 4 games of 40K. So that's why we didn't add it to the podcast. It's a separate video. But I ran into one of those Repulsor Executioners there.
They have good shooting. Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of DACA. And that big gun's not to be trifled with. D6 plus 4 damage. Yeah. Strike 16. Yeah. They don't get the built-in rerolls with it the Gladiators or the Lancers do. Their rules, they get rerolls against things that are below half strength, I think. So yeah, it's like the opposite of the Ballistas. So all right. Well, so enter the Lion Man is the name of the next list. Right?
Yeah, we got Kyle. Look at what his list is, though. His detachment, Heath. Blast.
It's an Iron Storm. It's an Iron Storm.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Green Dice Games.
Honestly, it's going to be real good because he's got the Lion. He's got Azrael. He's got a Gravis Captain with Flesh is Weak. I don't remember what that does. A Combi Lieutenant. Fort Philippine. Okay. And the Gravis Captain already has incoming damage. Oh, yeah. All right. So he's got Master Machine Wars. He's got Adept of the Messiah. All right. So he's got an advanced in, I think it's an advanced in shoot is what Master Machine War is for one thing within range. He's got the Assault Intercessors. He's got regular Intercessors, Assault Intercessors with jump packs, then triple Vengeance, Dark Shroud, double Redemptor, Dreadnought, Storm Speeder. Here's how this works. I'm telling you. He's going to have a Tech Marine in among all those vehicles. So it's Lone Op, and then the Lion is going to run next to all those vehicles. So the Lion is going to be up next to a couple of Redemptor Dreadnoughts, giving them the rear ones to hit and wound, and being a heroic intervention threat. And that's a lot of, and then you get the little triple thing around it. Another thing, there's a tactic you can do here, is you could actually join the assault and you join the Tech Marine to one of the tech marines to the assault intercessors. You go run, put them on an objective. You shoot at the assault intercessors. If the assault intercessors die, then the vengeances get to shoot back, and now the tech marine that's left behind is alone
Oh
up because of the
yeah,
vehicles, and he can heal the vehicles. There's a lot, and all the
I
vengeances are going
remember
to
that
get
tactic. Yeah.
the feel no pain. Uh, so you get protection against hazardous your plasma because of the lion. There's actually a lot of synergy here, right? And the thunder strike is what's going to let you punch up into stuff that's above strength 9, because that's the highest amount of highest strength shooting you have, because all you have is plasma, other than the thunder strike. So, yeah, that's actually really cool. I kind of like it. So,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
just got to go back and look at what the attachment roll is. Okay, it's the reroll 1 hit, 1 wound roll, and that's all. So you're putting a 1 hit,
Yep.
1 roll, and 1 damage roll. I guess you don't need the damage roll for the lion at all, but the rerolling 1 hit,
Well,
1
the hit
wound.
and the wound you do, right? Or the
Yeah,
wound, because if you roll a 2 to wound, you just re-roll it, right? And then on
yeah,
the thunder strike, that's really valuable. On the dreadnoughts, that's valuable. The vengeances, that's valuable, right? It's this really rewards high value shooting. So,
yeah. But yeah, I was just
all right.
excited to see an Iron Storm list. All right,
And
so
remember,
we're going.
Iron Storm, the thing that got me at Challengers Cup, Iron Storm has a stratagem that lets you ignore modifiers. So
Yeah,
especially with Catan, like Necron Pantheon of Woe being the thing out there, this has a solution for that. You're
yeah,
like, oh hey, you ignore what? Okay, cool. It's just like, don't half this, or don't -1 damage this, nerd. So
yeah, yep. All this 3 damage plasma
mhm.
blast. Boom, 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 boom. The boom daka. Love
Yep.
it. All right, so from the Blast of the Past to something a little more modern, we got Jason's Wrath the Rock list that he took the Club Championships 2026 in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, where he got 5th out of 32 players. He amply named his list tournament list. He's got the Lion, Azrael, Chaplain, and Terminator armor with the Deathwing Assault, Lieutenant, Combi Lieutenant, Intercessors, 2 Knights, 1 Lancer, Fatty Squad of Hellblasters, Incursor Squad, Repulsor Executioner, and Scouts. So a little bit different shakeup of a few things we've seen before. And you'd mentioned the champion or
The
chaplain and Terminator
Chaplain and
armor
Terminator armor with Deathwing
previously,
Assault. Yeah. The
but
Hellblasters, the Incursors, there to make sure that the Hellblasters, are gonna kill what they shoot at, and give the Repulsor Executioner a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Yeah, it's good.
yep,
It's a good list. It's
yep.
good.
Well,
Dark
and
Angel's
the
good
Incursors
stuff right
also
now.
give you that option to scout move out and screen in case you run into something that blood
Yeah,
surges or surge moves or something that you're like,
yeah,
no,
and
I
they can
need you to hit
throw,
this spot
and
out in the
they've got
open.
the melt or the haywire mine, right? So Incursors
Yep,
are a good little utility unit. For 80 points, they do a lot, right? Space Marines have a
yep,
lot of competition for that 80-point utility slot. So
yep.
cool. All right,
All right, so that
that's it.
is
We did it.
our meta list. So we're going to go now to our special guest. Folks, we are now moving on to our main segment where we are joined by our special guest for the evening, Chris Stover, a master narrative 40K gamer. And he's graciously agreed to join the podcast and talk about narrative gaming with us and some experiences that he's had with that. So, welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on board.
So, Chris, I've done a little bit of narrative gaming way back in 8th edition and before I got all caught up in the 40K comp madness. And I know that there's a lot of fun stuff, elements in narrative gaming. So I was just wondering what kind of got you into playing the more narrative side of things as opposed to playing the more competitive events.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because, that's kind of the trajectory that people take, right? A lot of times people get into the hobby, they're drawn in, going by the store, seeing the miniatures. They find something that they really like based on what it looks like, and then kind of have their own little headcanon story that they're playing with before they kind of get into that competitive scene, right? Before they really get into playing at that top tier level or going to those events. For me, I did that and then went into the competitive scene, played for a while on some highly competitive teams, and then decided that actually, you know what, I'm going back into the narrative realm. There's a lot of things there, like you said, a lot of elements that are just really cool, really fun, allow you to really customize more bespoke and get into that storytelling mode. So for me, that's kind of been my trajectory. Been doing 40K since I was, oh man, about 8 years
Oh,
Wow.
old.
nice. Yeah.
So It's been a while, yeah, and probably I'd say about 50-50 of my time has been narrative and 50-50 competitive. But it's really in the past few years, especially after it seemed like GW made a really concerted effort to bring a lot of narrative rules and different narrative paths that you can take. I kind of found myself getting sucked back into the lore element of it and seeing that really amazing, rich, wonderful 40K lore represent itself on the tabletop. And I think there's a lot of cool ways to do that currently in the
Yeah, for
game.
sure. I've played a lot of narrative as well. Some of my most fond memories of 40K have been narrative. Like back in fifth edition, uh, we ran a huge like games day event out here where before Apocalypse was a thing. Or sorry, maybe it was actually, I think it might have been like 3.5 or something. But we set up
Oh wow.
what was effectively an Apocalypse game before Apocalypse was a thing. We had like a huge table with like 5 players on it, right? And then like there was like a
Yeah.
mission that you have to go kill this one guy, and like no one had the big aircraft models, so I was the GM for it, right? So it's like we want to play a GM'd game, so there could be asymmetries and things like that, and objectives that were hidden
Right. Yeah.
from the other team, and like so we had multiple tables all linked together. So there was like, a table which was represented like a power station on the other side of a mountain range. You had to, if you knock that out, then some void shields around the city would go down. So you could
Right.
roll into this. And
Yes.
then there was another table which represented a boarding action going on in orbit. And every turn, every battle round, whoever controlled certain objectives got to drop orbital strikes, and do stuff like
Oh,
that.
nice.
So it was cool. It was
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you get to play with those elements. Yeah, you get to play with those elements and bring those things in, and even just things that are actually inherent to the game that you really don't ever get to play with. Like, I know a lot of people tell the story about the Death Strike missile of one Games Workshop store calling
Yeah.
up another Games Workshop store and saying, "Hey, do you have a game being played right now?" Okay, well, a Death Strike missile just hit one of your tables, right? Because it's
I know.
unlimited range, But yeah, so I mean, being able to either come up with those elements yourself and really flex that creativity to represent what's happening on the tabletop with the orbital strikes, with power generators going off, or even just using the elements that are already in the game that really kind of get overshadowed and overlooked, bringing those in and being able to use some of those things that yeah, they're in the book, but nobody ever
I think
uses
one of my
them.
favorite things about narrative gaming is that it removes the need for, I don't want to say fairness, but symmetry. And so, a very
Yeah.
valid complaint of competitive 40K is that the terrain is very, it's not very rich.
Yeah,
And that's,
yeah, they
yeah.
only know the STC file for L-shaped
Yep,
buildings.
a lot of
Yeah,
L-shaped buildings out there in the galaxy. So,
yeah.
going to the narrative side, it lets you, like, you can create some of those more thematic, like, things, right? They visually
Yeah,
look a lot
assaults
cooler.
against
Yeah,
walls and
yeah.
yeah, things like
So, and I
that.
have a lot of
Yeah,
friends that they don't
yeah,
they
it's
don't want to
it's
play competitively because they just don't like how the game looks. So,
yeah,
which is a fair
yeah, and
criticism.
that it is a fair criticism because you take what I kind of said earlier about like we're all kind of at first visually drawn into the
Yeah,
game,
right.
right? Um, it's all about the aesthetic, and for better or worse, GW has created a very cohesive and coherent aesthetic that really draws people in, mostly around the Space Marine faction, but that's about 50% of the players. But also once you get that aesthetic and you put it on the table and then you start rolling dice, that's when people are starting to tell the stories, and then they buy a book, right, or they read the little excerpts in their codices, and they're like, oh man, I want to make my guys perform like they do in the book. I want to give them the types of buffs and benefits that really represent what I'm reading in the stories. And really that's where narrative play comes in, because it may not be the most meta thing to do that. So you can't really take that to competitive, but you can take that into a narrative game, and you can even feel good about it not performing well, right? Some of my
Right.
favorite stories about narrative games is, I'll go up to a table and someone will have just failed a 3-inch charge, right? And in competitive, that's
it.
that's a tilting moment,
Yeah.
right? That's like
Yep.
everything hinged on that. Like if that had happened, I would have won the game, right? But in the narrative realm, I'm not saying people aren't upset about it, but you at least can go back to and be like, okay, well, narratively, why did that happen,
Right.
right? And you can come up with some serious reason, you can come up with some funny reason, and then when people come and report their scores to me because we still do it old school. Um, they tell those little stories, right? And I'd say about like 50-50, half the stories are about just absolute hilarious failure,
Oh yeah.
right? As opposed to just, kicking your opponent's butt, right? So I think that's a really cool aspect of narrative, and that narrative mindset is that you're there to tell the story, at least in part,
Mhm.
right? You're there to play the game and win the game. Like I'm not under any illusion that no one's trying to win the game, right? But the story can help you as an element of winning, right? If you told a good story together, even if you didn't win the game at the end, that's something that I've seen people continue to talk about over and over again in a
Yeah.
very positive manner. So that's something I really like about narrative play.
Yeah, the ultimately what's the game? The game is about, it's a social game, which is about hanging out with people.
Yeah.
Right. And so if the way that some of your friends want to play is competitive, that's easy to set up. There's a very clear set of rules for that. And if some of your friends want to play narratively, well then, I mean, yeah, don't be elitist about, well, I play at a competitive level. It was like, just do the thing that lets you hang out with your friends. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And it'll,
Well, I'm really happy
so go
now.
ahead.
Go ahead. Also, I'm really happy now. Say, play with your friends, and I know a lot of the places where people are playing right now are at events. Either RTTs, GTs, some of the much larger events, a lot of the traveling shows for like Games Workshop and stuff. I'm really happy to see that those are coming to a lot more events too.
Mhm.
So that gives another place where people can go play those games and socialize. Because traditionally, the narrative and even the way that Crusade is really built right now is it's a basement game, right? It's
Yeah.
a play with your friend in a campaign over a series of time, not over just a 5 games in a weekend. Um, but seeing that element also being brought to some of these events is really cool too.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I'd like to ask you about, Chris. Just as much as you can talk about it. Some of the photos, because one of my buddies went and was at one of our mutual friends, Chris, was at Atlanta for
Yeah.
the World Championships of Warhammer for the first time in the narrative event, and some of the images and things of like crowds of people standing in front of dudes dressed up like real Space Marines or Astra Militarum generals and things like that, giving orders and
Yeah.
reading out battle briefs. I was like, I just wanted if you could talk a little bit about that event and like what it was like to be a part of that and just kind of like
Yeah,
have that
I can
full
talk a
immersive
little.
experience that you don't really see anywhere else.
Yeah, so you mentioned, dudes in full power armor giving briefs and stuff. I was fortunate enough to be cast as one of the Lords of War,
Nice.
playing a Thousand Suns Exalted Sorcerer, right? So I got to be one of those guys in power armor, and oh my goodness, that's a dream, wearing power armor and being a Space Marine, even if I was a Chaos
Mhm.
Space Marine. But
Don't worry, people think this is a
it was
Chaos
just
Space Marine podcast too. Don't worry, you're in the right group.
well, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's so cool because the level of immersion that they can really do at a Games Workshop backed event, right, with the full staff and the full intent of just creating an immersive experience that translates from the tabletop to your walking around experiences, to your interactions with your fellow gamers, both on your same faction, on the other faction, and then really building those up and hamming it up a little bit in the um, briefings that we do, and telling a story. And what's really cool is that it actually connects into the Warhammer 40K universe, right? It's canonical.
Oh,
These
okay.
Oh
um,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, these ones that are put on in Atlanta by Games Workshop actually find their way into print, right? So I
Oh,
think
cool.
about 2 weeks ago, I think they came out. It was 3 weeks ago. They came out and showed off the um, Crucible of Champions, the way to build characters for Warhammer 40K.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a new. a new take on kind of an old thing, which was being able to really customize characters. Um, the three that they chose were the three Lords of War from 2 years ago. So they're
Okay.
examples of the Rogue Trader, the Glitch of the Psychomech, and the Word Bearers character were all three. Those were the main characters that got played in the narrative.
Oh, wow.
And those models, which was really cool, we actually got to use those models and play in a massive kill team game with those.
Wow.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, at the Games Workshop ones, it's just really awesome to see, and they bring in a whole bunch of people. It's not just the Lords of War, and it's not just even what we call the Vox Localum, the folks who are in the rooms who are playing a character in that particular world or arena. But they have basically a ton of support staff too. They bring in people from Warcom, Warhammer community, and they actually are there really taking stock of what the players are doing, and all of the player agency plays into how the story unfolds. So that's a really cool element to see behind the scenes too, is that, yeah, you got to keep it on the rails of what is IP appropriate for the Warhammer 40K universe, but there's people in the back that are really taking into account what's happening and how players are interacting and how players are responding to certain elements of what's going on, to further the
So
story. So it is a player
So I
generated
guess that
story.
that begs the question is like, so I'm sure they show up with a narrative structure or framework, but then like how much like input, like how much can that change based on what the players do across the rounds?
How
Or
involved are the players, right? That's kind of how it goes. So the more the players are into it and the more the players are pushing for certain things to
hmm,
happen, the more we can kind of deviate from. I say we, I'm not the end story writer, but
Right.
the more the folks who are curating the
okay.
story can start to deviate from what would be kind of the
So
center
there's
line.
basically like a showrunner behind the scenes who's looking at everything and getting the results and going, okay, well, now based on these things, that's really interesting. I'd never considered that. I always kind of figured it was
And it's super
wow,
dynamic
okay.
too, very
Huh.
dynamic, to the point where sometimes it's maybe 15-20 minutes before we're supposed to go on stage, and nobody, they haven't reported all the results
Mm.
yet, right? And it hinges on a couple things, right? So you're like, I need to know what my motivations are right now, because I need my character to
Mhm.
to really convey what is actually happening, and this all pivots on something that's unresolved so far. So yeah, it's really cool. It's like I said, it's dynamic, it's quick, it's fast paced, and it really is responsive to the
That's neat.
players.
So when with the War on the Shore event, just because that's the one that we were
Hmm.
not involved in, because we both played the competitive side. But how did you work with Amory and the guys like that to kind of let that story unfold?
Yeah, so War on the Shore takes kind of a similar approach, but a little bit different, because that's run through my
Hmm.
own company. So
Okay.
I I kind of don't have all the same strings attached. I get to go off and kind of let my creative juices go, because
Yeah,
with, let's say, the grand narrative or any of the GW narratives, we're going to play Crusade, right? Crusade is the way that you play narrative in a GW setting, um, and it works, right? I mean, we have sold out narratives at almost every single U.S. Open. So if you're planning on going to one, make sure you're signing up quickly for them, because they sell out fast. Same thing with the grand narrative. I think those things sell out really fast. But at least at the events that I'm at, I can kind of take some tweaks to those, and not necessarily tweak the rule set, but kind of tweak the application. So, for instance, one of the things that worked really well and people really loved at War on the Shore, for instance, is it was a little bit smaller of a narrative, but it allowed a lot more kind of intimacy of the characters and the players. And what it also allowed us to do was create home bases. So that's something that was very narrative driven, where we said, hey, we had this huge, beautiful complex.
Yeah.
The YMCA camp at Camp Erdman is pretty sprawling. It's right on the beach, just gorgeous. And first thing I did was say, all right, so these are our three factions. Where's your home base? And they all just kind of look at me for a second, like, okay, well, we're expecting you to show us tables or something like that, right? And it's like, no, go find a physical location somewhere on Camp Erdman, and we will come set the tables
that's
up
cool.
there.
I didn't know
And
that.
that's going to be where that's going to be where your home base is. And then every round, you're going to set defenders, and defenders are going to pick the mission. And you're also going to choose who your attackers are. And your attackers are going to have to go out and find the other home bases and find someone that is defending there and play them on that mission. So just kind of cool little elements that you can bring into narrative. And for instance, that's really just in the matchmaking part of it, right? In the competitive scene, even in the GW narrative side of the house, you're a little bit restricted on what you can do in matchmaking, but that's before any dice are even rolled, and that gets people into that narrative mindset of, hey, this is my home turf. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, I'm going to attack this guy over there, and that's their home turf. And then for the rest of the event, you're still feeling like, okay, over there is where the Xenos live, right? Over there is where the Imperium is set up, which the Imperium one was my favorite. It was,
Oh yeah, they had a
there's
cool setup.
vegetation canopy.
Oh yeah, the one on the beach.
That had this,
Yeah.
that had this void in it that was like just big enough to fit 3 or 4 tables, and they hung their flag up, so it was kind of flapping in the breeze there, and had an endangered seal come up and lay next to him for
Oh
one
wow.
whole day. So it's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Well, and
very interesting way to play 40K.
yeah. Well, the way you just talked about that pairing process, like in my head, it just popped in. Like you go out with your buddy to attack the enemy, and you get to a table, and there are these two dudes, and they're like, "I'm defending here with this mission." And while you're sitting there, with your buddy trying to figure out who's going to go fight who, the two like orc players or two corn players just show up and are like, "Yeah, we don't care who's what. We're just going to take
we're
these
here to
tables
throw
and
hands.
play." And
We
now
don't
you
care.
have to go somewhere else.
We don't care what's going on.
Yeah,
We're here to throw
exactly,
hands.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
so how do you
That
do
would be a lot of
faction
fun.
construction? So like, do you, as part of the narrative, like when everyone signs up and posts what their faction is going to be, you say, okay, now these people are going to be on this faction, these people on this one, so it stays narratively cohesive?
I generally
Okay.
don't. So what's really great about the Warhammer 40K IP is that while it on the surface seems really rigid of Chaos, Imperium,
Xenos, yeah.
all the separate Xenos factions, right? Um, it's actually not as rigid as you think. Um, I have 3 different ways that I do it. So way number one is Chaos, Xenos, and Imperium, and that kind of comes into play when I'm dealing with very large events, where almost naturally it tends to fall out that there are twice as many Imperium players as there are Chaos or Xenos, and therefore there are 2 Imperium battle groups and 1 Chaos battle group and 1 Xenos battle group, right? So that kind of is the standard way of doing it, so that you're aligning it along the standard GWIP. Second way I tend to do it is a non-faction aligned but goal aligned. So you can say that here's the main plot beat of the story, and for whatever reason, if you are on the side of, hey, this thing must not happen, it must be stopped at all costs, then you're over here. And if you're on this side of, hey, this thing has to happen, and whoever's trying to stop it is obviously the bad guy, then you're over here, right? So you come up with just 2 meta factions, and that's kind of how Nova runs. That's how a couple of the other narratives I do run, and that's for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is um, everybody's got reasons why they could care for something to happen or not happen, right? Even within the Imperium or Chaos or Xenos, you can always find a reason why you should be doing something or shouldn't be doing something. And miscues, mishaps happen all the time, especially when you're dealing on the micro scale that in reality a battle that is happening on the tabletop is. We see lots of uh, blue on blue in the
Yeah.
40K universe, either on purpose or on accident. Um, Plus, there's always Alfarius,
Right.
right? So, or the Dark Angels.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
So,
That
Easy
seems
there.
uncalled for.
who
Jeez.
who knows? Who knows? So that's one reason. The other reason why is because what I was finding a lot in narratives is you are coming to play with your friends, right? And you're coming to be a lot of times on the same team as your friends. And if you're running World Eaters and your friend is running Guard, and you go to this event and it's no, you're running Guard, so you're over here, and your World Eaters, you're over here, and then it's hey, you two may never meet up during actual play during the event. And because it's narrative, it's not just about the game that's happening on the table. It's about the time in between that you are talking with and building a rapport and making decisions about what your priorities are with the rest of your battle group. So if you came to do that with your friend and then you got branched off, then you might be a little upset. So that's another reason too. It allows you to align via a goal and then create your own canon as to why your force is taking that position, as opposed to having a position prescribed to you and saying because this is the symbol on your shoulder pad, you're
Yeah.
over here. So that's way number two that we do the kind of faction breakout, and then way number three is just pretty much pure faction breakout. That all the way down to if you're Eldari, then you've got an Eldari mission. If you're Drukhari, you've got a Drukhari mission. That one's a lot of work. I do it occasionally, um, but it requires a lot of really understanding faction and player motivations, a lot of brokering between factions to get the actual pairings that you need in order to keep games going and not have them feel stale and like you're fighting the same people over and over again. Um, I've seen some of the best results out of that type, but like I said, it's tough. It takes a lot of work to do
Imagine you
that.
need a large player
I do
base
that.
as well to get the numbers you need to set that up.
You
Yeah.
do exactly. You need a large player base as well, so you're dealing at with numbers probably at minimum above 50, probably
Yeah.
approaching in the 70s
Okay, wow.
if you're actually trying to represent factions. I mean, even then you may still be playing with like that one Leagues of Votan player, right? Who's but I love my Votan players because they tend to wheel and deal, which I love. They all of a sudden become like some sort of back planet tradesman that's trying to trade their services to anybody
Which is kind of a
for a
Votan
little
thing,
bit
right?
of
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I know, right? Right. So that's people really getting into the narrative. So I've had that a couple of times, and it's been quite fun to watch just happen naturally. I think maybe that personality trait also gravitates towards that type of
I
army.
I I
So yeah,
played in a round or two of the narrative event at Nova in 2018, and I had Dark Eldar, and I went up
yeah,
to the organizers like, hey, um, if someone's got to buy, just give me a call and I'll come down and raid somebody's planet. Because we don't really need an excuse.
yep,
So yeah.
yep, exactly, yep.
That's
It's
awesome.
just we're here, we're gonna take things, and
Yep.
goodbye. Hope you had a horrible day.
Awesome. Awesome. So who would? Because I never end up knowing who won the narrative event, if there was any winner in at War on the Shore.
Well, everyone won because we had such an amazing time. And also, no one won because it's Warhammer 40K
Yeah,
and
you
no
can't
one
win.
wins in the
That's the
end.
purpose
Oh,
of
that's fair.
Grimdark. It's like,
That's fair.
But as far as the story,
the only ones that
yeah,
wins are the
as
crows.
far as the story
I
goes,
walked into that
right,
one.
exactly. So, storyline wise, and kind of how we're probably going to be. It depends on if we're going to make this a persistent story or not. That's another thing. A lot of my narratives are persistent. They happen in the same universe. Well, it's all the 40k universe, but the same story arc year after year,
Okay. Neat.
or within the same region. But since this was an inaugural event at War on the Shore, that decision hasn't been made yet. But where we ended up was the Xenos faction, who was primarily made up of some orcs just looking for a good scrap. Um, they ended up getting a good scrap and completing actually what was really interesting on how it ended up, which was totally, not my thumb on the scale or anything like that. But there are a couple of different things that could happen either on the Imperium side to shut down what Chaos was doing, or on the Chaos side to keep perpetuating the fight that Chaos was bringing to that sector. But there was a particular way that if things went, it basically ended up in, okay, Chaos was not able to achieve all of their goals, but their forges were still active and they're still just absolutely pouring out um, possessed engines um, for the fight, right? Which then meant that the Imperium didn't win because they didn't shut down the forges. But then the Xenos faction actually ended up winning, and because of the fact that like the forges are still active and chaos engines are still being produced and unleashed upon the planet, and Imperium is still sending tons of reinforcements to try to stop it. I mean, it's the ultimate win for the orcs because they just get never-ending scrap.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's kind of what it ended up with. The Xenos faction ended up with the actual win, but lore wise, that's kind of where we ended up lore wise too.
Interesting.
Was just the orcs got exactly what they wanted, a never ending scrap.
The frozen conflict, as we would call it if it was in Eastern
Yep.
Europe.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Another technical question about this. So if someone was interested in trying to play narrative from the competitive side, right?
Mhm.
What's the expectation that you use to write a list for a narrative? Is it expected? It's detuned away from meta, or what's the specific goal that you would use to say this is a narrative focused army list, vice a
Yeah.
competitive one?
So I'd say if you are a competitive player and you're gonna go play in a narrative event, now obviously if you're a competitive player and you only own 2,000 points, right? You've made your list, and we're all kind of slave to the
Mhm.
machine of buying and painting models, right? I'm not going to tell anyone that they got to go scrap their army, go buy all new models and everything like that. So if that's what you got, that's what you got. Come in and play. The most important thing is a narrative mindset, right? You want to be forging a story that involves your opponent, not forging a story that is taking your opponent out of it, right? So make sure that you're there to play a game that is a social exchange between the two of you that is intended to last
Mhm.
5 turns and intended to just have fun. Um, if you're a really uber competitive player and you've got a ton of really, you got a ton of models, a ton of range, I would say go back to, hey, what's your favorite faction? Like, regardless of win rates or anything like that, what what appealed to you first in your collection, and maybe go dust something off, right? And play that, um, and see what you can do with that, and see what story you can you know make, especially if you're a really really good competitive player, about taking an undertuned force and
I
doing
was
pretty
going to
well,
say,
right? That's
I
always
hit
fun
like
too.
when you
So
said, okay, we're playing this as like attacker defender based. I was like, oh man, that to me, that's like, hey, if I'm just going to play, I'm just going to be the faction that guards the home base. I will restrict myself and say, okay, look, I'm taking all of this, like static defensive stuff, heavy intercessors for days, that kind, and that sort of
yeah,
stuff. And then if you're like, you want to be an attacking faction, then I will bring
yeah,
Ravenwing, right? And just try and
yeah,
narratively construct a force to fit a certain role within the narrative. Um,
right.
but I guess that's like a thing that you would have to know what is going on in the narrative, or like what tasks you could be
Well,
assigned.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because one of the things that I bring, again, not in rules wise of what's
Mhm.
happening on the tabletop, but just in the prep of coming to an event is multiple lists. I'm
Really?
in a narrative event. We're not
Okay.
doing BCP, submit your list in advance, have it checked through for everything. I like to allow people to bring some
Oh
flexibility
man, that actually sounds really cool.
and yeah, and so one of the things we do is this concept of warlord incarnate, which is your warlord is kind of a representation of you or a representative of you. So it either is you on the battlefield or it is your, you know, most prolific champion that you've put on the battlefield. And therefore it's the general that is prosecuting your
Mhm.
battle. Now, you have a ton of forces available to you, but you've got your warlord incarnate. And if you read any book in the 40K universe, right, the main character has a set of other characters that they are most often going into battle with, and a squad that they're most often attached to, right? There's the key units that are always referenced again and again throughout the story, in almost any
Mhm.
Warhammer novel. So that's your retinue. So we have a concept of warlord incarnate and retinue, and those are the only models that have to be common amongst all your lists. So the rest of your list is just the wide array of forces within your vast army that you have available, and you can use that to kind of tune your list a little bit. But you simultaneously reveal your
Yeah.
list. So you can go in and say like, okay, well, I've got my warlord incarnate, which is a space marine captain in Terminator armor, and his 10-man blob of Terminators, right? And that's 500 points, and that's my Warlord Incarnate and Retinue. And I know I'm going up against a Knights and Agents player. So I'm going to take all las cannon everything I can for the other 1,500 points, right?
Yeah.
And then that guy, who is a Knights and Agents, player, decides, all right, this is my time to bring out my 150,
Dark.
Imperial Navy
Oh
breachers
no.
and shoot it, and all my agents infantry list, right?
Surprise. Like, oh
and,
no.
and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's a bunch of Space Marine las cannons obliterating single Imperial Navy
I
breachers
brought
at a
sniper
time.
rifles. They're called
So I
las
mean,
cannons. Yeah. It's,
yeah, exactly. So there's some gamesmanship there that happens, and again, that's another thing that kind of represents more of getting a bigger feel of scope
that
as
sounds
opposed to just what's happening
that
on the
sounds like that
tabletop.
sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds really cool. That sounds yeah. I'm really
Yeah,
into
And
that.
like, well, and like my hobby brain is like freaking out thinking about with Space Marines, Dark Angel specifically, right? Like
You've got a
getting that
lot of options
company
there. Yeah.
heroes
yeah,
squad, right? We have the
yeah.
Mhm.
company champion and the ancient and whatnot, and then just all the customizable bits you have, the hooded heads, the shields,
Yep.
the swords, doing all that up, right? Suddenly, like with all the lieutenants that you can add or not add based on like a narrative bit or to juice it up, and then right, you can put them in an
Yeah.
impulsor, you can put them in their land raider, you can put them in a. Can you put them in a rhino? I can't remember. Probably not.
No, not
Um,
if they're Primaris, you can't. But yeah, rhinos can't
but
take
put them in.
tacticus. Yeah.
But like, yeah, but put them in your impulsor or your repulsor executioner or your land raider or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And depending on what it is you're trying to do with them, and because like you're saying, retinue just drove me back to some old fourth, fifth edition,
Hmm.
seventh
Yeah.
edition style lists. And I'm like, oh, I remember when you used to have a lot of fun making the little groups of command groups that went with all your guys, and
Yep.
then that went away for a while. Then they brought
Yeah.
it all back. So that would be a lot of fun. Especially, and then you're saying it's a narrative, right? Like a lot of times with Dark Angels, we don't have that company of heroes squad because we're running Azrael, right? And Azrael can't take them,
Hmm.
which is really
Yep.
sad. But basically, we can because that's what Wrath of the Rock is now. But
Yeah.
but like having that generic some of those generic heroes, like I can't tell you the number of Captain and Gravis armors I've given away to people as like a first hit free because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to play this because I'm going to play Azrael, and it's like, well, now's my chance to play a Captain and Gravis armor.
It's an opportunity to say, hey,
Yep.
I like to put something on the table for it, and just play it in a different way, right? Play a different, yeah.
Yep.
So no, I like that. That sounds cool. Man, well, Chris, you got me intrigued for next year. Maybe that's the way to do it. Because like the idea of bringing like a large portion of my collection, and then being like, okay, you're facing this faction, and now I have a whole nother set of meta. Like, okay, well, what do I need to do about that? Right? Okay,
Right.
then I pick from what I have available, and then now I write a list right there and say, okay, how's this going to work? I don't know. Let's find out. There is there's a challenge, a competitive challenge in and of that. Is like how well do you know your faction outside of just the things that have been decreed as good on the internet. So
yeah, and the rails I generally put on it are come with 3 prepared lists. So if we're playing 1,500 point games, right, and 500 always has to
the
be
same.
these 500 guys, then come with 3 additional 1,000 points that you can plug onto that 500, so that you're not in that decision paralysis of, oh, I just walked up to this table, I've never faced that faction before, and I've got to build a list, and I've got 10,000 points of Dark Angels in my case right here. What am I going to do? Right?
Yeah.
You can just say, okay, well, you look like you have a lot of infantry. Okay, I'm going to take a bunch of flamers and heavy bolters.
This sounds like one of those where Heath's going to have to go back to his house every night. I'm like, Heath, I need 3 of these. Go home and pick these up for me.
we gotta go back. We gotta go back to the rock.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, cool.
That sounds like that sounds pretty cool. And that sounds like something I hope my dad went as like a guest this year, and he was really excited about playing. Maybe next year, and I think I'm trying him to play the narrative, and I think you'd enjoy having him, Chris, because one of his final day jobs when he was in the U.S. Army was he worked at the Army War College, so like doing narrative wargaming like this was like you got paid to do this, like and well compensated.
Yes.
With
so when I was in the Navy, I did wargaming too for a little bit when I was in Korea.
Nice.
I was doing wargaming, so yeah.
Cool. And I've heard
little bit different wargaming, a little bit different stakes, but
well, I do know from some of my Warhammer buddies back in Plymouth that got deployed to Korea that the 40k tables on base in Korea are very nice. So
we have we have a 40 guy here in Hawaii that got stationed here from Korea and is a very high level Custodes player. Like he's probably one of the top 10 Custodes players in the world. He's incredible. And yeah, he said the 40k Korea scene is sharp. They do not mess around over there. So
that's why I got excited. I don't know if you guys saw that. Right, there's Grand Open, or there are opens now in Europe from instead of just being in the US, and knowing what I know about like Japan, Korea, things, China's starting to build Australia. It's like, well, it's not going to be too long where you could just start somewhere like Seattle and just kind of 40k open your way across and back around the world,
across the globe. Yeah,
I think that time's pretty close. I do. They just stood up the Europe team, and they've already got 2 opens, one in the UK and one in Maastricht, and then Worlds is going to be in Europe, and I think they're starting to spin up similar teams based on some of the job announcements I've seen in Japan and Australia. So that time could be pretty close.
Oh man, that'd be so much
fun. Cool.
I was in Australia for work for a month last year, and had a good time going and playing at a bunch of stores there. And yeah, there's a big community of 40k over there. So
yeah.
So you have any shout outs or anything, Chris, you'd want to do? Because I heard you're saying you've got like a company and things like that. So I want to give you a chance to for you.
So I've got my company that does narrative events. It's called Galaxy at War Narratives. We're actually really up in our pace this year. I say we, it's me, but
proverbial.
I just recently retired. So I retired last year, so now I've got a bunch of time, and really my whole goal here is kind of 3 A's that I always say. I want to build awareness of narrative as a format of play. I want to build acceptance of it as, you know, hey, this is a valid system, right? That people can play and you know, be accepted at events and at stores and you know, anywhere they want to play the narrative type of format. And then accessibility. So making sure that there are events that are available and advertised and accessible to folks along the same lines as what happened with, you know, ITC bringing competitive events to an actual worldwide stage and a consolidated place to understand where these events were happening and signing up with like BCP and stuff. So yeah, Galaxy War narratives. We've got this year, I believe, 7 total events so far. Started off with War on the Shore in Hawaii. We've got an event coming up May 16th and 17th. That's going to be in the Seattle Tacoma area. Um, Actually, I think tickets just went live for Richmond Open today.
Nice.
So if you're in the Richmond area, you're going to Richmond. That's going to be a Galaxy at War narrative as well. Right now, we're trying to get the ATC event into the books to get that going. And then there's going to be obviously Nova up at Nova Open, and then a couple more events in that area in the Northern Virginia and Maryland area.
Cool. I'm gonna
we're kind of saturating the field with a ton of
I'm
narratives.
gonna get back out to
There we
Nova
go.
one of these years. It's a goal of mine. So
Yeah,
cool. All right, man.
Awesome.
Would love to have you out there for the narrative.
Yeah, if I can pull it off, you know, it's this year might be tough because of the travel commitments I already have. But one of these years, I'll prioritize it. So cool.
Yeah, we do it upright. We've got all the cosplay and props, and that's really Nova is where I really pull out all the stops because I got a lot of support system there. So it's not just me or me and one or two other people trying to run it. We have a lot more support that allows us to get way more involved into the story, into the narrative, and do kind of whatever we want, which sometimes gets a little crazy. We had a kind of Mad Max Fury Road type of event last year at Nova that was tied into the narrative. That was Big Mick Rig Rekka's Wasteland Death Race, where you got to race across this like 4-table wide map where all movement was doubled, and it was just an absolute crazy time with all these custom rules and custom work vehicles where you were fighting trying to steal loot off of Big Mac Rig Rekka's Rekka Rig. So it was a really good time.
Nice.
Cool.
I could tell you when to go, Heath. It's when they open up that new Warhammer world in DC.
That has played into the thoughts. Yeah. So yeah. All right, Chris. Yeah. No, we'll be in touch. I have some thoughts that we can talk about offline.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, hey, Chris, cool. Greatly appreciate you taking time. I know you're saying it's kind of crowded at your place right now, so we really appreciate you taking the time to come in. And I just thought of what I'm going to do for your videos. I'm going to say that it's been redacted by the Adeptus competitiveness or something, you know, however it works out. The
big competitive Warhammer has directed the redaction of this video. Yeah. So
they don't want to see how much I'm smiling over here. That's what it is.
Cool, man. No, it sounds like a good time. It really does. So I'm really curious about it. If you guys are able to do War on the Shore again next year, I might give that a shot because it sounds really interesting.
Awesome. So. Yeah. Oh man, it's such a fun event. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, y'all.
All right, Heath, we're ready to move on from our special guest segment to our monthly challenge. So the monthly challenge from last month was that we need to take some of the wonderful fine gifts we got from fellow brother in arms of the First Legion, Aaron Wisch, and use those bits he gave us to fashion up something fun and make it more Raven Wing-like. So
as we do that, I would like to report that there is just under 1 hour remaining on round 4 of the Other Realms Hop Defender GT, currently underway at Hanakoi Brewing Company in Honolulu. Currently, round 4, Aaron Wisch, with his Ravenwing list, is on the top table against John Gorman's Necrons, who is playing Pantheon of Woe. So
here we go.
Just throwing that out there. And
wow.
Aaron's Ravenwing list is pure company hunters, right? Azrael, Combi Lieutenant, and the Lion. Then 1, 2, 3 command squads. One with Master Mover, one with Recon Hunter, and then intercessors, 2 small Outrider squads, and then 3 big Black Knight squads, a Dark Shroud, and then 2 Thunder Strikes. I do also. So Aaron flew into Oahu yesterday morning from the Big Island, and he forgot a unit of intercessors. Right. And so he called me and said, "Hey man, could you bring," because I was also going to lend him a Thunder Strike. So he's like, "Hey man, can you bring this down?" And we had a catastrophic rainstorm yesterday. Like some of the roads across the island were closed. There was flash flood warnings everywhere. I'm like, I got you, fam. Also, because full disclosure, I agreed to let him borrow the Thunder Strike and then forgot about it. So I jump in my car and I go and I get down to Honolulu, so I live on the other side of the island. And I splash through the water and I run in there and I go into the back where all the big brew and stuff is. I see him and I run in there and he's just finished deploying and they're about to roll first turn. I walk in, I'm like, "Boom, your reinforcements have arrived." And then I realized I had a missed opportunity. I should have brought a drop pod with me and just ran through waving the drop pod over my head. That would have been way cooler. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, that's
that reminds
currently,
me that
currently
video.
what's going on.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That reminds me
Do I
of
have
that,
any additional information on
the new
this?
drop pod rules.
No. Okay, yeah. So we'll report next time on how this went down. Gotcha.
Well, but that reminds me of that video they did for 8th or 9th edition with Duncan Rhodes, where they were like, "Oh, this is the new drop pod rules," and the guy just like football spikes, like Gronk spikes the drop pod onto the board, and it smashes into a bunch of pieces. And that was so good. All right. Well, good luck to Aaron. Bring glory to the First Legion. So I tried to bring glory to your very magnanimous gift by taking this Invader ATV.
Oh, dope.
I've already done one of these, but I decided I've got the guns. I like to do my guns separate so I can swap them out as I need them. But because I had so many bits, right, I was able to get really crazy. I went with the double winged hussar thing off the back wheel guards. I got one of the little dudes that I put him here. I thought about putting one on the second one, but I feel like it cramps this little antenna. If this antenna ever breaks off, I guess I'll put another little angel dude on the other side. I'll like paint him up and glue him on later. I got Dark Angel's backpack. I got the heads are all swapped out. I've got Heath's favorite bit from the old Talon Master.
That's the good one.
On the sign.
Yep.
I added the Raven Wing logo on either side and then on the front plate. So nice. I went all out as much as I could. I didn't have, because these arms are all one solid piece. I didn't try and go and saw off stuff to try and get a Raven Wing pad. I'll just freehand a Raven Wing sword. I've gotten halfway decent.
Throw a decal on there or something. Yeah. Cool. All right. I didn't do anything, so I yield the field to you, sir. I've been way too busy. I've had stuff going on, so I did not complete. Well done.
All right. So my campaign to
your campaign to take the Hobby Challenge back is well underway. So
all right. Well, what do we want to do for the next episode of the podcast? Which I guess I had the notes in this or something earlier because I know in March we're both traveling a lot and going to Adepticon, so we're probably gonna have to do like a March-April episode. So we will have some time plus an Adepticon between podcast episodes to get some fun hobby stuff. So
true. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know, man.
Well, let's.
What if?
How about this? How about we go?
In honor of our special guest we just had, we should build and/or paint a somewhat customized character model.
That would be cool. And since we're going to Adepticon, my idea was go and get something that we've always wanted to try, like some new hobby thing we've never really bothered.
Okay.
Because there's a lot. There will be
spend
something
money.
new
Okay,
there we've
I
never
can do
seen
that
before, right?
Sure.
Or there'll be something. But let's. I'm down with customizing a personal.
Yeah, make a little warlord incarnate. So they said, yeah. So it'll be dope.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and then and retinue. See, this is where I'm going to call in the retinue, because this is what's important, because this is where you get to add the little diminutive characters that are just game-made characters. Like, this is my favorite part of narrative gaming and like certain factions in 40K, which is like what's my favorite part about Death Guard and Nurgle, the Nurglings, all the little extra Nurglings that have no game purpose other than they're super dope, like the fat one that's like got his hands on his hips, or like the winged, the caped one, the one that's like singing and frolicking through the forest, like. And Dark Angels have those, right? Like we have Watchers now. They're not as Watchers, fun, but we have a ton of different Watchers bits we have access to.
Okay, so
maybe not a full retinue, but like,
but I can definitely, I think I can definitely do a character. So
do something exciting with that. Yeah. So all right, let's do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, so we're gonna get into the community comments here. So we got I kind of condensed them a little bit, so because like some of these had a lot of replies. If you want to see them, please go back and check the videos, because we're kind of running late on time, and there were a lot of comments in general. So we're just going to look at the main ones that started off. So these are the comments from the last episode. It's coming from Wraith Raider, so Alan Percival. So we've got how to deal with Wraith blocks, he asks. Precision, Lion, Azrael, etc. Use Epic Challenge and kill the leader. Then they lose the Feel No Pain. A good Necron player will hide them, but it's not easy to do. So if you can find a way to...
It's always been easy whenever I show up to it. I look at it and it's like the terrain is always such that they've got, it's like a layout 2 or layout 4. And so it's well back in their little corner, and it's next to their catacomb barge and all this other stuff. And it's just because you have to be able to see the model in order for precision to work. And I've thought about, like, do I need to just bring something fast that can get in there, like a jump pack captain that can get in there? Just, I don't know. I've thought about that.
When you can customize and make an embodiment of yourself.
Maybe that's the right answer. Maybe a jump pack captain with ancient weapons. So maybe that's the idea. But like, so I've been playing a lot of Dark Eldar recently, and Dark Eldar don't give a crap about no wraiths, because they will get there, get behind them, and kill them. So yeah.
So speed is the answer. So maybe my 10-man Assault Intercessor squad,
get around behind them,
jump pack,
and as long as you can draw line of sight to that character, you can snipe it. So
interesting. All right. And then see, he's also got a comment. Okay, so you can't Insane Bravery Battle Shock if not in the Battle Shock step. So do it in another part of the command phase, and you'll have to roll. So I was trying to remember what that comment. There was some little thing we were talking about with one of the stratagems. I can't remember which one. I just went back and tried to find it before we got recording.
It was like when you inflict battle shock outside of the command phase, because Insane Bravery only works in the command phase.
Okay.
That means you can't auto pass a battle shock inflicted out by some other source from outside the command, the regular test outside the command phase. I think, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So, like things like Assault Terminators,
like the Wraith Psycho, like the Necron Psychomancers, right? Or the Assault Terminators on charge, or various other things that do that. So,
gotcha. All right, then the other comments are from my tournament experience in Hawaii. I said I'd bring these over, so let's run through them real quick because there were a couple of them.
Sure.
So Kamal Bridger6152 says, thank you for the detailed rundown of your games and experience. It was good to have a dedicated video. Keep them coming. So I've got another one of these coming to go along with that for this episode of the podcast, which was from the Hoosier Hammer Cup. And try and get all that worked out because I've got a con this weekend, so we'll see what happens. Then Alan's back with, Eradicators are just underwhelming in the current state of play. Melta Weapons being strength 9 is extremely disappointing in my opinion. Having played older editions when Melta Weapons at strength 8 meant that they could interact with the toughest and biggest tanks in the game, and there were periods where they were right. Like I'll hold my hands up and say, like, I was the nerd that was running the 6 to 9 Melta attack bikes, right? And we were abusing Melta, and like there's a reason why Melta's in the penalty box right now.
I don't think the problem's the strength. I think the problem's the range. Because getting to within 9 inches to do the Melta thing is just really hard, especially on a unit that's not fast. So if we still had a unit of 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas, I'd be cooking. Me 3 tornado pattern land speeders with Melta. Let's go. I'm down, right?
Yeah.
But they don't do that, right? You don't have that fast, like hypermobile Melta platform right now. Outside of
we don't have it in
Hammer
squads,
Strike.
right? Because these used to be squads, but now they aren't, and that's what
They're
also
not squads
hurts us
anymore.
too.
So yeah, maybe in 11th edition, because in 9th edition, then the Outriders were only squads of 3. You could not take them in squads of 6, and now we can take them in squads of 6. So maybe we'll see.
We'll see. So we got Emery Burgess commenting, I declared the Lion and the Deathwing. I just couldn't fit the first model through the gap. Should have left the Lion out of the declaration, right? So so this comes down to one of the games where I got kind of cheeky in my deployment, and Emery, I thought he declared just the Lion. I guess he declared everything, but because he tried to move his first model into contact with the Lion and then couldn't physically fit his base between the small gap that I made with the Terminators, he failed the charge. And so instead of me getting like turn 1 oogie boogied by a bunch of orc squig hoppas, they just stood out in the middle of the board and let me countercharge and smack them to death on my turn. Well, it took several turns because those things are tough.
They're
and
not
they're
easy
beasts,
to kill.
So none of the Macy boy stuff really works on them. It's a slog. So you really need the Lion to fight the squig hog boys. So VTS 55 says, this is now on my life list to do. We love Hawaii and 40K for a great cause.
Come on, man.
Hopefully it stays around and I will make the trip out. All right. So that's what we're looking for. That's
what we're here for. Yeah. We've accomplished.
All right. Aaron Kruger 9370 says, good review, Bailey. Looking forward to seeing you with Heath and Kyle talking about our faction again. Right. So we'll have to get Dr. Kyle on again sometime in the near future. I did finally, this is where I'll post the picture. I did get to see Dr. Kyle McCord at the Hoosier Hammer Cup. So Heath and I have now both met Kyle since he's been on the podcast. So that was, and both at 8-man team tournament events. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then let's see, Colonel Terrell 8818 says, can't wait for next year. It was amazing. Peeping the AOS Spearhead event there also.
That's Colton Terrell. Yeah, that's our AOS Spearhead apologist truther.
Gotcha.
Local Hawaii boy. He's just always like,
gotcha.
But have you tried Spearhead? Like, bro, come on, what Spearhead? So I appreciate his enthusiasm.
He needs to come to Gen Con because they do a lot of Spearhead at Gen Con.
They'll probably do that, yeah. Okay.
Awesome. All right, so those are the community comments. Oh, wait, there was one more. There was one back on the Dr. Kyle McCord World Championship tour that it just popped up, and I just happened to see it while I was pulling these. So I'm going to have to go back and bleep that. You guys mentioned the Gravis Captain with Ancient Weapons. I thought maybe you could put in with 3 to 6 Eradicators and have the free +1 to strength or +2 strength strat. That would be good into strength 10. So I guess, can he join Eradicators? I know he's Gravis armor. But I know they've changed
Gravis
a lot
Captain can join. Gravis Captain can join Eradicators. Absolutely. And doing the +2, the +2 strength strat definitely has been done, because that gets them to 11, which kind of mitigates your concern about their strength. It's just like getting them in a position to use them, because of the short range of the Melta in 10th edition being 18 inches, and the stubby chonky legs of the Eradicators being only a 5-inch move. There may be some more play if you like jump them out of a repulsor or something like that, but you're starting to build into a whole lot of tech to get a thing done. So
but then you get to quote Spinal Tap. Well, these ones go to 11.
Fair point. Will do. Yeah, will do. Okay.
All right. Anything else, Heath?
No, man, I think we did it. Let's get it. Let's call it.
Awesome. So thank you all for listening to this month's episode of the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. As I mentioned earlier, our next episode will probably come out sometime in April. It's like a wombo combo, because Heath and I are both traveling at different parts of March. So like basically by the time I get this edited, I'm out the door and gone. And then Heath and I are both going to be gone traveling to get to Adepticon as soon as I get back. So we will try and get something out in April. So make sure you don't miss that episode. Please subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your preferred podcasting service. And then last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. Until next time, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Hey, this is Steve with Team Table Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.